streaming. And I'm going to put the stream link in the chat. And it should be live now. So again, we are going to be working through getting this program done this week. And any extra time that we have after the coding will just be for you to catch up and process everything. Let me bring myself into a teaching spot. And there we go. So definitely you can check it out on YouTube. You can also just continue to watch us in class. The YouTube should be persistent after we leave, so you can go back to it. But right now we can do next sample and see all the different samples. And coloring them is going to be the next thing that we do. And we're going to do that now. So I'm going into the JavaScript, and I'm just going to hide all of this text for the samples. And you may not have that all completed yet. As long as it's rotating a little, you're in good shape. When you have time at the end of the week, you can be throwing that together. I also highly recommend find people to work with. Man, I forgot we had virtual school. Did you actually go to the building and try to get in? Nassim was knocking on Palumbo this morning saying, "Hey, let me in, let me in." Oh, you thought it was Nassim thought it was Sunday or something, or just all a bad dream. So yeah, all of these examples, you can copy and paste this stuff and give it and share it with each other. That is okay. The code I would like you to write on your own. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say var correct color is going to be green. And I spelled correct wrong. I'm about to fix that, so don't spell it wrong. Or if you do, just be consistent with yourself. Actually, I'm not going to say correct color. That's going to be too much typing later. I'm going to say correct and incorrect. And I'm going to call it green and red. And I'm putting these here like this so that we can go through and say correct, 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 incorrect, correct, incorrect, correct, things like that, rather than red, red, green. Because later I might say, wait, I don't want correct to be green. I want it to be black. I want it to look like regular text. And we'll be able to just change one piece. And I'm going to make another variable. Actually, you know what? I'm going to bring it up here near sample A. I'm going to call it sample A grade. And all I'm going to do is put 6 ones up, because they got 6 ones, meaning a bunch of corrects. And then I'm going to do the same thing for sample B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Now I'm going to have to change some of the ones to zeros because they didn't all get a perfect grade. So sample B has a 0. So I change it to sample B grade. Put this in as a 0. If you notice, we're using lists here everywhere. Sample C, row 3 and 5 are zeros. Call it sample C. And so, yeah, that's all we're doing right now. Sample D is, sample D got the same grade as sample C. E got the last three wrong. F got 3, 4, and 6 wrong. And I'm not talking about their indexes, I'm talking about the row number. So the index is, of course, one less. G got 2 and 3 correct. Everything else was wrong. They definitely get worse as we go. H got 1 and 5 correct. And then this poor last person, oh no, they also got it too. Got rows 2 and 4 correct. Oops. I'm going to then say var sample grade, or grades. I will back off on my pacing. My thought today is to kind of run through it pretty quick. So I don't know if you're going to be able to keep up in real time, but then there will be time at the end of class to keep up. So do your best on keeping up with me. If you keep up completely, great. You'll have less to do at the end of class. You'll be able to just take a nap. But if you don't keep up with me, I will back off before the end of class. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So then I'm making a list of all of our grades. And this and one more Kahoot are our last grades for the second marking period. So if all of your work is done, you have a pretty easy week this week. If it's not, it's going to be a pretty hefty week. I know most teachers will probably be ending their week next week. I'll go easy on you next week. This week is the week to work in here. Hopefully that's different pacing than your other classes so that it's not going to crush your soul. And then when we have next sample, we're going to write a function called color sample. That stinks. Okay, so yeah. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work in this color sample. So what I want to do now is I want to figure out how do I color the text of an input line. Is it just color? I'm gonna Nassim, this is also on YouTube. Yeah, so okay, it looks like it's just .style.color or style.background color. Okay. So we're going to say document, which is our web page, which was a Kahoot question that I think I burnt a lot of people on. Document saying, look at our web page. Get element by ID says we're grabbing something off of our web page. And we're going to change the styles color. Now, this is going to change the, I think it's, yeah, this is going to change the text color. We could say, oh, let's change the background color if something's wrong and leave the text color. Or we could change them both. We've got that flexibility. We'll see how it looks. And what I do and what you do might be a little different here. Although most of you will probably do similar things to what I do. So we have to get the element by ID and let's see. Okay. So what we did is this is for fill inputs. We're going to actually grab this because we're going to kind of mimic a lot of this. So this is what we use to set the text. So we're grabbing all the text areas and we're not setting the title. We don't need to worry about that. And then here, instead of setting the inner HTML, we're going to set the style color. So this is kind of what we're doing. And then one period there. And then we need to say, okay, we're using sample grades. We're looking at the sample grades index. And then the one other problem that we're going to run into is when we look at this, there are 3 things for the first question. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inputs for the second question. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a little array input lengths, or yeah. I just want to keep track. So there are 3 for the first question. There are 5 for the second question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. And then there's, for part C, there's 1, 2, 3 things. And this list is just helping keep track of how many things are in each sections. And then D is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. Hmm. 3, 5. And actually what I'm going to do is, these are the first 3. This actually goes up to 8. What I'm doing is 5, actually, plus 3. No. How do I want to do this? I'm just thinking of the easiest way to do this. Oh, wait a second. No, because there's a total of 6 things here. That even complicates it more. So this represents row 1 represents 3A. Row 2, okay. So this is getting a little bit mind melting. So actually, the first color represents the first three things. Row 2 represents 3B. Row 3 is also 3B. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, because 3B is 5 total, so row 2 and row 3 is going to be like, I'm going to say 2 and 3 right now. We'll go back and see if that's accurate or not. So answer rows. So this is row 1 is the first 3 things, the next 2, the next 3. There's a total of 6 rows. 4 is for 3C, 5 is for 3C. So we're going to split up 3C. We'll do it like 1 and 2. And then row 6. Oh, sorry. Three. Rows 2 and 3 are 3B. I'm messing my own head up. So 3A is the first 3. 3B is the next 2 rows. Right? 3B, 3B. Then row 4 is 3C and 3C. And then row 6 is 3D. Right? Yep, okay. So I don't even think we're going to use input lengths. I think we're going to use answer rows. The input lengths are just how many inputs are each question. But the questions are broken up differently in the boxes. So let's see if we can do this. Var current sum equals 0. So I will be the row that we're on. So tags I color is going to equal sample grade I. Sample grades. Sample grades index is the one that we're on. And that's going to be a 1 or a 0. And that's got 6 items in it. Current sum. Sorry, this is a little bit of so if the current row we're on so if I is less than answer rows, no. Call this current index. So I haven't pre-planned this. So the current index is 0. Then when I is equal to 3, the current index than. This is a little bit of math. I'm a little stumped early Monday morning. So if I is less than or equal to, if I is less than 3, we want our index to be 0. If it's less than 5, we want it to be, if it's between 3 and 5, then we want it to be 1. Here we want it to, so how do we do that? I'm going to write another function whenever things get a little too hard, called get index, get score index. And we're going to give it an input of the current box index. If I'm gonna be a little sloppy here because my brain is starting to hurt. And sloppy sometimes works better in our heads. So if box index is less than 3, we return 0. If box index is less than 5, we return 1. If box index is less than 8, return 2. If box index is less than 9, we return 3. If box index is less than 11. All right, Nassim, I'm glad you went running. Return 4. Otherwise, we return 5. So all these lengths things actually aren't going to matter. So what's happening is if we, if the box we're coloring is 0, 1, or 2, we're looking at our row 1. If it's not 0, 1, or 2, if it's 3 or 4, then we're looking at the next row. Then we're at row and row and row, and so that's getting our current row. And then our sample grade would be get score index I. And we're going to say if this is equal to 1, then we're going to set the color to, you know what, I'm actually thinking it's going to just be easier to do this. We're just going to hard code this in. It's not ideally as good, but I think it will be easier to I'm going to come up to the top. I'm going to delete this. We could set it to correct or incorrect. I'm going to, like, this is worse code, but I think it will be easy. It's easier to write right now. And then when we do next sample, when we do fill inputs, we're going to set the title, and we're also going to color the samples. I'm going to test it, and then I'll sit on it for a second. I'm sure something's not going to work. And it's coloring everything red. It is coloring everything, which is good. I'd like some of it to not be red, though. So there's definitely an error in there. So this case is never happening. It's always getting a wrong answer. Something else I also realized, though, is sample example. I need a color for that. If you don't have a sample example, then don't worry about it. But I need that to line up. So sample example gets a sample example grade, sample A gets a sample A grade, and they should all be green there, and we are getting everything to be red. So if sample grades is 1, and sample grades our current scores has to equal our sample grades at whatever index we're looking at, and then current scores here. Actually, that might work. Okay, that's everything's green here, everything's green, except for the things that are red. Okay, that seems to be working correctly. So we just can see the stuff that's wrong. Okay. So this is the code that we're writing. It is now correct, or correctly working. I'm going to pause. Oh, I'm pausing for the rest of the class. So that's the period. That took too long. We may not have this done by Friday. We'll see.
Can you also show what you changed in your inputs?
Yeah.
Inputs?
Yeah. So if you're taking pictures, take a picture of this. Scrolling to the top, the things that we made were, we made a sample example for each of our, so that's the data that we had made. And then we made sample grades here. And that's everything. I'm going to shut down the stream right now because there's going to be no more coding for the rest of the period. There's only about 6 minutes left.
Didn't you add like a something in fill all inputs? Like you had
Oh, sorry, yeah. And then in fill all inputs, right under set title, we're calling the function that we wrote, color sample.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for reminding me about that part. Now I'm going to stop the live stream.